Alrighty, going to do a quick video here on our new rack for the paddleboard truck. This is a TRac Rac 1 model. These are about $300. I think they're starting to be available at some of the big box home builder store. Other than that, you can get them off Amazon. That's where this one came from. This is what we used to, what I previously had on there as a rack for the paddleboards, a heavy duty ladder rack. So this is what we've gone to. So you can see immediately, first thing is it looks a lot better and a little bit more suitable maybe for the kind of more light duty purpose of just carrying paddleboards compared to carrying lumber, heavy ladders or whatever. So I'm going to go over what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and the difficulties of we had in the assembly. Of course, you know, it comes in that box, so it comes disassembled. We'll start with the likes. I like the materials they use. It's aluminum. It seems to be high quality, and the basic design and shape of it I do like. I think it's very attractive rack. Pan out a little bit here. These are rated at, in the directions, at 800 pounds. Absolutely no way that that is even possible. You could possibly very gently set something that weighed 800 pounds on there if the weight was distributed evenly between the two bars and was set on there carefully. You might could do it. I sure wouldn't drive 10 feet like that. I wouldn't put anything more than 150 pounds on this for actually going down the road. No way. There's just not enough lateral support on it. It's going to shake and shimmy and come right off of there. And once one of those side pieces kink, then you know it's over. It's going to collapse and fail catastrophically. So that was one claim I wouldn't give too much credence to. This rack was only rated at 800 pounds. Okay, and you can look at how overbuilt that is out of steel and how much heavier it is and heavy duty. I've put 400 pounds on that rack and didn't have any kind of problems. There's no way I'd try that with this. But for the light duty purpose, it's kind of what everybody's going to for kayaks and canoes and surfboards and paddleboards, and it's kind of the look that's popular, and it's a good looking rack, definitely. Good finish quality. It's powder coated. Of course, when you're assembling it, you have to be real careful because you'll get little scratches and dinks in it, which with a little bit of silver spray paint would be pretty easy to cover up anyway. Even the logo stickers are pretty nice, so I wasn't even tempted to want to take those off or anything. They look good with it. It clamps on. It's the only provision for it mounting is the clamps, although I suppose it could be modified and bolted down, which might be an attractive option for some people to do it that way. Provide a little bit more security against theft, I think, if it was bolted down and the bolts are up in here, and they could even be flattened a little bit to make them even more difficult to get a wrench on. These would be pretty easy to take off if somebody really wanted to. Had just a few minutes, maybe even an electric Allen wrench. It's all Allen wrench constructed, which, you know, it's good and bad in that. Some people don't like it. I don't mind it really. For what it is, for, you know, going around and occasionally tightening up stuff as it needs it, using an Allen wrench is really, you know, it's okay. It's harder to get any kind of power driver. You know, not a lot of people have Allen wrench sets for power drivers sitting around. You got to adapt something or whatever. But just for carrying in the glove box a couple of Allen wrenches. There's only two sizes of Allen wrenches. I don't have the attachment rings. There's one of the complaints about this that I've seen from other people is that there's not a lot of accessories that go with it. I think that's valid. It comes with two little ring mounts that slide in a channel up in here, and that's, I guess, the TRac Rac thing, and they look sturdy enough. They're made of plastic, but the bolts underneath them are metal, so the good stainless steel. It's another thing. All the hardware is either aluminum or stainless, which I also really like. Here, I can show you these are the little mounting. I'm going to try it first without the mounting rings on it and see how I like that, and then you know, I'll mount them. So there's my likes, you know, good looking, good materials, seems functional, doesn't whistle in the wind like the other rack did. I like that a lot. And we'll move on to some of the dislikes. One of the first things I see that I don't really care for is To mount these in the rack, these end caps have to come out. And these end caps are another issue I want to get into. First off, they were a little ill-fitting, some of them were. This one I actually had to re-drill the hole. It wouldn't engage. There's a thread on a post, a female thread on a post in there, and the screw goes up. Get that on here, I can't see my screen. It goes up into here, an Allen screw, and that's what secures it. There we go. Can't see my screen. Get the shade here. Now, my other complaint about these, other than they were a little bit ill-fitting, I'll show you another one that still haven't gotten to go on right, is that this is a piece of cast aluminum that weighs, maybe 6 or 7 ounces. And it's just held on with that screw. And there's no sort of interface that holds it on without that screw. So, if this screw works loose, gravity's going to pull it right down. This is going to fall right off of the truck and become a safety issue for anybody behind you. It's going to hit the ground, bounce up. It could do some kind of damage of another vehicle. Even laying there on the road, it could get flipped up and cause damage. I really don't see why they didn't make these out of plastic and just make them press fit in there. You could just pop them off, run your racks, your tracks, your tie downs up in there as you needed them. If you wanted 2 or 4 or however you wanted to do it, you could really quickly adapt that instead of having to get a wrench, go in here, take that thing off, and then put your tie downs on, and then put that back, put the screw back in. So those are my 2 complaints about those, or 3 complaints. I'll show you this one here, over here. I still have not got this one to fit correctly. And there is an up and down on them. There's a flat surface that the screw goes into, and that's the way the instructions say to do it. The hole in this one isn't exactly straight over that. That's why it's catawampus like that. And I had to enlarge the hole and try to get that to go on straight. So that's that deal. All right. As far as the assembly goes, you look at the directions, and it's only a few components. You got your 4 uprights, you got your 2 crossbars, you got your 8 clamps, and their screws. So it seems like it's pretty straightforward, but it took a long time. It took as long to make as that rack. That rack came in a box too, had hundreds of parts. And the reason why was that the clamps. They have, I'll show it from the other side. Let me zoom in here on these from this side. You can see it. So they have a screw, stainless screw, comes through the bottom, engages it sits on with a foot on top of it that actually engages the underside of the bed rail. The problem was that the holes on these clamps were drilled undersized and then filled. Then it was powder coated after they were tapped. So the threads were filled with the powder coat paint. Took about, I'm going to say on average, half an hour or more per clamp to get these things to where it would thread without just using huge amount of force to get them finger tight, or finger where you could spin the nut by your finger. It took forever. And if you don't have them fitting to that level, it makes it real hard to install them. If you have to put a lot of force on it, because some of them I didn't get them fitted to that level where they were finger loose and you could spin the nut with your finger, the bolt I mean. They were hard to do, and then I kind of got smart about that and started really working them until I could spin them freely, and then it made it a lot easier to install the clamps. What you end up having to do is to clamp the clamp in a vise so it's stable. So you try to do it with your hands, you just kill your hands. And then you start working the bolt in and out, using a little bit of cutting fluid. I use some Smith's honing fluid on it, and then I just use some grease to help lubricate the process, and you work it in and out, and in and out, and then you take the bolt out, clean the bolt, clean the hole, clean the threads off. There'll be all kinds of paint and chunks of aluminum in there. Clean it out, start over again, working it down, in and out, and in and out, until you finally have recut those threads and cleaned them and chased them with the bolt threads to the point where it's properly fitting and it's in spec. I didn't see any reason for why the company wouldn't attend to that. And there's other complaints. It's not just me. There's other people that have found out, although it may be getting worse. It may be worse or better lot to lot, as you know, as people get different lots of these. And also, there may be a problem that gets worse because the company may not be replacing their drill bit that they used to drill that hole, which makes the hole actually smaller every time that that drill bit is used. You know, if they only have 1 or 2 stations, if they don't change those drill bits, eventually those holes will get out of spec, and I think that's what's happening. And then it's a problem that's made worse by filling it with paint after it's threaded. In retrospect, what I probably would have done was get a tap and some cutting fluid and just recut those threads, chase them with a tap. I think that would have been a much faster, more efficient option than the way I did it of cutting those threads with those bolts. They're stainless bolts, and they're they're a hex screw, which means you're not getting a lot of purchase on it when you're trying to force that bolt through there. I didn't have any problems with cross threading them. They seemed to start, but then they would just, after 1/8 of an inch or whatever, initially it would just stop, and then you're just grinding away trying to get it to go through there. So that was that. That's probably my major complaint with it. Other than those end caps, I don't really care for. Is it worth the money? Yeah. I mean, there's nobody else really making anything like this, I don't think, that's comparable. So, you pretty much are at their mercy to pay what they say. And it's a lot of aluminum. I mean, probably you could scrap it for $50 worth of aluminum. It's 20-something pounds of aluminum, of good quality aluminum and stainless screws. So that's that. I'll say thanks for watching. If y'all have any comments or anything that may help future purchasers of this, post them. Thanks for watching. Ciao.